In this video, we will be doing some examples of graphing sine. In example 1, all I have is an A term. So my amplitude is 3, my max is 3, my minimum is -3. I haven't changed anything about the x-axis, so I'm simply going to label it as the chart indicates. The y-axis, make sure you go up to 3 and down to -3. Now, since it's a sine curve, I start on my center line, go up to the max, center line, down to the min, center line. Then I fill in my chart. Oops. 0, 3, 0, -3, 0. Example 2, now I have a center line. So my center line is y equals -4. My amplitude is 1 because amplitude is always positive. The max, it's my center line plus my amplitude. So that gives me a -3. And the min is my center line minus my amplitude, so that gives me -5. Again, I haven't done anything with the x-axis, so I simply label as indicated. -4. So I will put a dotted line at my center line. This is just to remind me where I need to keep going back to. So then, since it's a sine curve, I start on my center line. Since it's negative, I go down to my min, back to my center line, max, back to my center line. The next example, I have an A and a D term as well. So my center line, y equals -1. My amplitude is 5. The max is -1 plus 5, so that's 4. The min is -1 minus 5, so that's -6. Again, we haven't changed anything about the x-axis yet. So I'm going to draw in a dotted line at my center line. So then I start on the center line because it's a sine curve, go up to the max, center line, down to the min, center line. The next example, now I've added in a B term, and I have an A and a D. So my center line is y equals 3. The amp is 5. So my max is 8, and my min is -2. But this time I need to find the period, which is always 2 pi over your B. So I get 2 pi over a 4th, which gives me 2 pi times 4 over 1, which is 8 pi. Since I have no C term, I'm starting at 0 and ending at 8 pi. So then what I can do is find the spacing between each x value is always your period divided by 4. So I get 8 pi over 4. So my spacing is 2 pi. So if I start at 0, from 0 to the next one has a distance of 2 pi. then another distance of 2 pi, then another distance of 2 pi. So this would be my new intervals. Now at this point, I can label everything else exactly the same. So 3, 8, -2. And remember, draw in your dotted line for your center line to remind you where to go back to. Sine curves start on your center line, go up to your max, center line, down to your min, back to your center line. 3, 8, 3, -2, and 3. And this will be our last example where we've added in every term. So my center line is y equals 3. My amp is 5. My max is 8, and my min is -2. Okay. What we're actually going to do also, never mind. So what we want to do now is you take whatever's in your parentheses. One you said equal to 0. The other one you said equal to 2 pi. You solve both of these mini equations. So my first one's -pi/2. And my second one is just pi/2. What that tells me is that tells me where my curve is going to start and where my curve is going to be ending. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my period, which is still 2 pi/b. My b term is 2, so my period is pi. Because once I have my period, I find my spacing, which is your period divided by 4. So my spacing is pi/4. So what that means is I'm starting at -pi/2, and the distance from there to the next point has a distance of pi/4. So I take -pi/2 and add pi/4. Now I need a common denominator. So I get -pi/4. So that's going to be my second x value. Now from that -pi/4 to the next one has another distance of pi/4. So we do the same thing. -pi/4 plus your spacing again, pi/4 gives me just 0. So that's my next value. Then I take 0 and add another spacing of pi/4. So I end up at positive pi/4. And then I would take that positive pi/4 and add another pi/4. So I get 2 pi/4, which is the same thing as pi/2, which if we notice, that's what we found on my previous slide. We found that this is where it ends, so that makes sense. I haven't done any arithmetic incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend my graph a little bit, put 0 in the middle, -pi/4, and then -pi/2. So then I'll do positive pi/4 and positive pi/2. So I'm going to kind of ignore this part. So then I need to go up to 8. So 8 3, and down to -2. Now at this point, when I go to plot it, my first point is going to be over here at -π/2 and on my center line. Then I go up to my max, down to my center line, down to my min, back up to the center line.